Hello, welcome pen friends. My name is Chris and I'm back with another video. This time I want to talk again about the subject of the depth year. That's D-E-P-T-H. One of my other videos when I said depth year, it sounded like death year, and I was like, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about depth year, which I first heard about from viewer Kimbo Polo. She mentioned when I started talking about similar subjects about maybe having a no spend and what I wanted to do for 2020. And Happy New Year, by the way, to everybody. I can't believe we're already here, but as I'm taping this, it's January 2nd, 2020. It's already the 2nd here in the United States, and some of you are already looking at the 3rd. So anyway, I heard about it from her. So then I went and I found information about it online, and it turned out there's a blog called Raptitude by David McCain. And he's the one that first mentioned it. And during 2018 and 2019, a lot of people undertook this project, which was basically is just, then I have another video and I'll link that one too, but it's basically to go deeper with what you already have, the projects, the interests, the hobbies, the things, and the people, and everything in your life, rather than expanding and getting wider, more things. And really, some years, for some of us, making things wider, going out and finding new hobbies and things and people is important. But for me right now, I'm feeling this kind of overwhelm with the things that I have, and even sometimes with pen pals, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. So the purpose of today's video is just to tell you, from the time I decided there in December, I was going to try to do this for 2020, or I was going to do this, no try, just, have this project and do it till now, which we're already in the new year. Kind of the thought processes and the things that I've been doing and the things I've been thinking, and it's not pretty, believe me. I thought, wow, this is it. This is cool. And not only am I going to do this, I'm going to be able to tell everybody what to do and how to do it. And yeah, that's not the case. Actually, got pretty overwhelmed when I started to really become extremely mindful about everything that I have brought into my life during 2019. And 2019 was a wonderful year. A lot of really awesome things occurred, but it also in many areas I found myself just so overwhelmed I couldn't choose. I couldn't choose which ink to do next, or which pen to fill, and pretty much that comes pretty easily because I love ink, so I can make decisions. But anyway, I'm getting a little off track. I knew I had to do something, and I still know that. And I'm not 100% sure that when I get to the end of this year or this project that I'll still be thinking that this was the project, but I'm going to find out, that's for sure. And I know that elements of no spend and low spend are going to have to come into play, because that was one of the first things that I discovered as I went through December. First I started being really mindful of whenever I had an impulse to buy something or get something new. And it happened a lot more often than I thought. And I also realized I spent a lot more time online looking at different pen sites and on Instagram and different places than I realized. Whenever I did the experiments where what I do is come and put my phone in the drawer in my room, and it's a real quick way of realizing whenever you're looking for your phone, it just, and yet for long periods of time I'd forget, and I'd have good productivity and it would be great, and I'd think, then I couldn't remember sometimes, where did I put my phone? And then I'd remember, oh yeah, I'm doing that thing. I stuck the phone in the drawer in my bedside, a little, whatever you call it, nightstand. So, but I became very mindful that I do have a lot of times when I go looking for things to want and so on. And it's not just in the pen, ink, notebook, pen sleeves, notebook holder. It's not just in that area. I really have long-term trouble with that with books. So that's just something that I became aware. And then, of course, I shared with you that I did my inventory of my spending for last year, and it shocked me a little. It wasn't. I could have been worse, I'm sure. It ended up being that I spent an average of $75 a month on pen-related things. And actually, the channel itself with ad money, I became monetized in February of 2019. And as an average, it's like $52 a month that the ads earn. So that was interesting how it was just about $23 a month of a gap between what the channel brought in and what I spent every month. And I thought, well, that's interesting, but that's not really the root of it. It's not all about the money. What it's about is how many pens can I actually write with, and really I've come to realize that about 8 to 12 inked up, that's just about all I can handle, and really to take good care of the pens, get them, write with them, write letters, and do all my note taking, and then clean them out, take care of them really well. So that inventory of spending was very interesting, but it was more in the inventory of how many pens I have and how many inks. And I have the unique situation of having this channel and having a lot of generous pen friends have sent me samples and even pens and ink bottles and you name it. So, that's wonderful. But that sort of adds a unique angle to it. Oh yes, and I spent a lot of time journaling, like, what do I think that I need here, and what does this project really mean to me? Why am I doing this? And I think at any point I'm going to continue each month to do that, to make sure that it still makes sense. And right now it definitely still makes sense, all right, because what I'm facing is I want to keep it fun. I want to really enjoy the hobby. I don't want to be like throwing the baby out with the bathwater and just, becoming militant about it or anything like that. That's why I'm not really calling it a no spend, because there are going to be things that I may need. And need is a very interesting word, though. So I've done an awful lot of journaling and gone back through to highlight. And what I concluded that I have a lot of habits that need to change. And interestingly, coinciding with that realization, because I've read a lot of books on habits, but in the past, and I didn't really find anything that helped me that much. But then, when pen friend Sharon mentioned the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, and it was right on the heels, right after I had read the blog that Tom at Ink Journal does, and he mentioned that book as being just top notch, and then I thought, wow, that's twice just within a week that I've heard of that book. Well, I started to watch videos where James Clear is interviewed, and I thought, this is what I need, definitely. And so definitely I need to do that depth with what I have. In other words, fully engaging with what I have, and I need to change the habits that kind of drive me to acquire more things, and even more, and this is going to sound ridiculous, but even more pen pals. I've had to go ahead and say no to 3 different people that asked to be my pen pal, and it hurt. It made me feel like I was defeated, like I had failed in some way, but I really finally came to the realization that I just can't take on more, and I feel really bad about that, and it may change. I mean, people may stop writing to me if I don't become a little quicker with my replies, and sometimes I think I'm not very fast with replies, and that's, it's not a race. I realize that, but anyway, and I've also gone ahead and said no to additional ink samples that people wanted to send me, when they emailed and asked me, and I feel really bad about it, but at the same time, I know that I'm not, I have not fully explored the ink that has been gifted to me already for the channel and for me, and so it just doesn't feel right. So I think I've mentioned that before. But I am really excited. I did check out from my library what I thought was the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, but it was just a summarization. And so I found that although it was good, it wasn't enough. So in December, before we turned the clock to 2020, I did order the book Atomic Habits. It'll be here Monday, January 6th. And I do plan on, I'm not sure exactly where. It may be over on Instagram because I can just do the quick 10-minute vertical profile, little 10-minute videos there. And I'm not sure if I'm going to do that there or here. But I definitely want to approach the book the way I used to with Bookstream TV, where I went very small section at a time and really absorbed the information and then talked about it. So those of you who followed me since then know that I was involved in a book club that has since kind of closed down, at least temporarily. I don't know if they've started up again yet. But every month we would go real deep dive into a book. And that was like depth reading, because it was like no other reading I've ever done, where we divided it up into sections and we read the book very slowly over a whole month, and we talked about each section. You know, we might even do a short video just on what we got out of the introduction. And that's where I found like the Tim Ferriss books and one of the Michael Hyatt books, and just amazing how much more I retained by doing it that way. So I'm gonna, make up some way of doing that. So that book is on its way, and I'll share with you what I learned, because I realize I'm in over my head in terms of changing habits. There are quite a few habits that I'd like to change. Some habits I'd like to get rid of, and then quite a few new habits that I need to install. Like today was the first day that it would have been the reverse. The money would have gone out for the ink flight, but instead it went into my savings, because I thought, I can't keep getting 7 new samples right now. For me personally, that's just not working, because I end up feeling the pressure of getting to them, and I'm really backed up right now. And now I tried this before, and I never even made it this far, like to where what I did before I backed out. I mean, I had unsubscribed, but then I'd go back in, and as soon as they released the ones that weren't subscribers, as soon as I got that email with that code, I would go and order it. So I haven't been successful in the past, but this time I'll have to live vicariously through those of you who do get it. And there are a couple of reviewers who they have YouTube channels that open and do the swatches, and I'll be really curious to see what was in it, even though I'm not not getting it this time. So okay, so that was December. I mean, I did kind of a searching, fearless inventory of my habits, and what I've been doing. And it wasn't all bad. I realized, my goodness, there was so many good things to think about. So here we are. Here we are in January 2020. And okay, so I wrote down beginning to track my habits, and the plan is study and implement the Atomic Habits by James Clear. So that's where I'm at. I feel like when I first announced I was going to do this, I must have thought it was going to be easy, which is kind of funny in a way. I must have thought, I'm not exactly sure what I thought. But it's a little bit humbling, to say the least. So I think it's a lot more challenging than I originally thought. I'm not exactly sure whether it's exactly what I need, or whether what I need is a whole, no buy year or what. But it doesn't really matter what we call it. That's the conclusion that I came to. It doesn't matter. It's increasing the mindfulness of what we are doing, whether it's spending or accumulating or buy, trade, sell, whatever it is that we're doing, and what is our actual happiness level in the hobby, and are we feeling overwhelmed, that kind of thing. And every time I put out one of these videos or talk about this, it is exposing, because it's like, I know it's going to be really unique and different for everybody, and some people could probably have lots more pens and inks and not feel overwhelmed. I think it's just going to be so unique for each one of us. And last night I completed a ink inventory of all my bottled inks, and I was shocked. 52 bottles, and that's with 2 bottles put on the side of ink that I don't really want to keep. It's like half full. I've given away as many samples as I could figure out. One is that Robert Oster Netherlands Erst, which is just not the right green for me. And the other was a mistake bottle that I should have returned, but it was winter, and it was my mistake in ordering KWZ number 1 red instead of Thief's Red a couple years ago, I think. So I looked at the bottle and I was happy to see it's at least half gone. So I've given quite a few samples away. Okay. So let's see. Oh yes, and I wanted to mention again, I guess I'm trying to defend myself, that having the YouTube channel does present me with some very unique, it wouldn't quite be at the level it's at if I was just someone who was in the pen hobby, having pen pals, and maybe being on Instagram. I don't believe it would be at this level, but since I've connected with so many people and, I started doing the comparison panels, and many people have sent me ink. So, I'm not doing a big declaration to say, well, do not send me any ink. But I think you can tell, if you've been around this channel long at all, you could tell that I'm trying to get caught up. And so it won't really serve me to keep getting new ink. But that's just one of those things that I think is going to work itself out now that I've said so much about where I'm at. I haven't actually counted ink samples since the summer ink down, and that's something I'll do, because at one point I had, I think, close to 500, and then I went down to around 300. I was a lot more comfortable at that level after I started, did a whole bunch of reviews and also did a bunch of consolidations and realizing, what have I got and how much of it is even left where I had enough to do a review. And I have to have really 3 mils. I can do them with 2, but I don't enjoy it. In fact, I ruined a sample the other day. So one of the Tasha inks, I only got halfway through the review, but that's another story. So going forward, I'm going to do a monthly update, just a monthly update on how I'm doing, and we'll see what happens. And I'm so excited that there are other people who are trying to, doing a depth year or a no spend or a little bit of both, because I need to learn from other folks too. It's just, there's so many ideas that hit, but we can't implement every idea that we see, and we can't read every book we come across. And in a way, I used to say I can't do justice to all these books. I had too many at one time. And so hopefully I've chosen well with Atomic Habits. I really believe that I have. I certainly got a really good picture from that ebook that was consolidation, or how would they call it, Cliff Notes, or I don't know exactly. But I could tell that I needed more, I needed the full expanded version of the book. And so I was really careful, because I thought, is this just me going wider? Yes, it was, because it's another book. But I wasn't getting everything I wanted, and I was watching his videos and interviews with him and realizing this would not be a book to miss. So I think I've covered everything I want to. Thank you for being patient with me, because I really have been having a little bit more of a challenge to get videos out. I'm still in my secondary place here in my dining room. My cat has taken over the world of our house, so this side of the house I can come over here and work and have him not knock things over. And it's funny, he doesn't bother my pen desk or my inks anymore like he did when he was tiny. He doesn't really bother anything unless I'm there working. And he'll be fast asleep, and I'll start to maybe shoot a video, or I'll start to do a timed ink test, and he will wake up out of a dead sleep and come streaking across the desk. So it's so funny. That's Coco, my new little kitty. So I think I'll leave this video at this point now, but I will come back around the end of each month. So I'll see you at the end of January. And in the meantime, I'll be on Instagram a little bit here and there. And I try not to overuse the community tab too much on here, but I think if there's something real important, I'll come on and say it. And then I'll iron out what it is I'm going to do with the book because as I grasp those ideas, I know I'm going to want to share it, because I think it's going to be just as important as going into my lists of things I've been wanting to do to each pen, and things that I haven't taken time for because I was busy with maybe the monthly pen allowance things that were coming in. So it's all good, and I have a really positive attitude about it. And I hope that any of you that are trying it also have a positive attitude about it, because I think that's the way to go. Just, try it. It's like an experiment, and if it doesn't work, something else will. Or some element, some part of it will work, I'm sure. Because, I'm often led to things that really, that I'd been looking for but didn't realize. And that's how I felt when I first read the blog post by David McCain, that was exactly, it put into words what I couldn't express myself. It put it very eloquently into words. So, okay, that's all. I'll see you next time, and I am working on a bunch of inky stuff, so I will see you next time, and take care. Bye for now.